Okay, Miss Stephenson, do you want to start the slideshow?
Well, welcome everybody. Um, so this is just everything that we're going to go through this evening. We've got our aims, our values, and rules across the school. Then a little bit about our classroom or our classrooms, the timetable, our PE days, homework, and reading. So, Miss Shepherd, did you want to do this bit?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've all seen this poster around school. The children will be really familiar with it. So it's just our aims and values. I won't read them all out to you because, like I say, I'm sure you've seen it before. And the children are really familiar with our 6 values. And this does just also link into our values champion and values VIP that we have, and that we do in celebration assembly still. So me and Mrs Stevenson have both chose someone to be values champion, and each week they choose someone that they think have done a really good job of maybe demonstrating one of the values, and they get to choose somebody to be values VIP for the next week. So that's that one. Yeah, and then you've probably seen this poster as well, just our 3 school rules. We just decided to keep it really simple, just so all the children can remember them. So we've got ready, being on time, being smart, having the correct uniform on, being ready to learn, and always trying doing your best. Then we've got respectful, so always listening, speaking politely to whoever we speak to. Manners, we're doing a really big push on manners this year, just making sure children saying please and thank yous, and being tidy, looking after their stuff. And then safe, walking around school safely, thinking of others, playing nicely, and being fair. So we still use Class Dojo, which obviously you all have access to as well, and we use this to reward positive behaviour, and then if there's negative behaviour we can take dojos away as well. And we still have the rule that if a child ends the week on negative dojos, then they would miss one of their break times. But like I say, that's very rare. Children do, if they lose one, they are very quick to want to win one back. And obviously you can keep tabs on that at home, what they're getting their dojos for. Celebration assembly, we have moved that to a Friday morning, so we're still doing that. Doing Star of the Week, still doing that, where the children can come to school the following Monday wearing their own clothes. What else do we do in celebration assembly, Mr Stevenson? Just from
If you've got any achievements outside of school, then children are welcome to bring those things in and we can celebrate it as well. We go through timetable rock stars as well in celebration assembly, speller of the
yeah,
week as well, which we do through spelling shed. So yeah,
AR, don't we? The class
yeah,
that have been on
AR,
accelerated reading the most.
lining up stars.
Yeah,
There's a lot of celebrations.
recognising all the different things that are going on around school. Also, word millionaires, people that are doing lots of reading at home. So yeah, like I say, I'm sure you're all familiar with that already.
And a lot of that comes home in the newsletter as well every week.
Yeah, so just two pictures of their classrooms there. So the top one that's my classroom for year 4 in the morning. And then the bottom picture is Mrs Stevenson's classroom, where she teaches year 3 in the morning. And then when the boys and girls come together in the afternoon, we predominantly use my classroom, with it being a lot bigger, but we do have the option to do little groups in year 3 as well. So, and it is handy that obviously we're both next door, and we have the outside classroom next door to us as well. So maybe not this week with the awful weather we've had, but we can make use of that as well. So I do like my classroom because it's nice and big. So yeah, I've just put a timetable here of what we cover each week. I won't go through that lesson by lesson, but you can just kind of see overall that we do a mixture of handwriting, spelling first thing in the morning. English is always before break, and then we do maths. Before dinner, we have like a little carousel of activities that ranges from times table rock stars to spelling shed to big maths beat that. So all children get to access them at least once during the week. And then in the afternoon is where we do our foundation subjects. So like I've said already, year 3 and 4 are taught separately in the morning, and then they come together in an afternoon. I don't work on a Monday, so year 4 have Mr. Dewar in the morning. And Mrs. Stephenson, even though she's been roped in a lot already, doesn't work afternoons, but is already picking up lots of extra. And then, as you can see, quite a few of the foundation subjects are taught by various different staff. So the children have Mrs. Walling for art, Mr. Kendall for PE, and Mrs. Nags for computing, and then Mrs. Burton for PSHE, and then it's me for the rest. So that's just an overview of what we get up to in a week.
A lot.
PE and homework. So PE kits need to be in school on a Monday and then go home on a Friday. We just said because our hall isn't big enough, and especially with the bigger classes, we try to go outside as much as possible. So if we encourage the children just to take their kits home on a Friday, and then they can have a wash and bring them back on Monday, especially with our PE days being a Monday and a Wednesday. And also that's why we've said that if children are doing sports clubs or any clubs after school, if they could just bring in a separate change of clothes for that, because we've had just a few incidents last year where children had gone home in their kit that they'd worn for the sports club, and then they didn't have their PE kit for the next day. So we have said to the children, if they're doing a sports club after school, they can bring a separate kit just to wear for that. So me and Mrs. Stephenson will both set homework on a Friday, and it will be due in the following week. I usually say about a Thursday, ready to start the new. Are you similar, Mrs. Stephenson?
Yeah, Thursday, and then they get a dojo as well for completing homework.
Yeah, I do that as well. So homework involves, we do still encourage the children to want to read for at least 10 minutes every day. I sometimes think when children get in the juniors, it's more the children. They think, oh, I can read now. I don't need to read more at home. But it's just developing, reading lots of different genres, discovering new vocabulary. So it's really important that they do still do that daily reading, even a little bit here and there at home. And then we will set a piece of maths work that says but we do set a piece of maths work and a piece of English work. Usually we use spelling shared and math shared. I think the children prefer it. We can easily see what they've got on at home. And a weekly spelling shed challenge as well. And then a termly project, which will probably be coming out in the newsletter soon. Do you want to add anything there, Miss Stevenson? I think I've covered it all.
No, I think you've got it all there. Yep. Okay. If I did the reading, then that will lead into English as well. I think everybody's familiar with this. We use accelerated reader at school, and all the children are now on accelerated reader. If anyone's a bit unsure about the login, I have got a sheet that explains how to log on. But the children should be coming home with their books, and then every time they complete reading a book, they then log on to complete that comprehension quiz at home. We can do it sometimes in school as well, but we've got limited devices. So children, they do come and ask me, and I'll say, sure, we'll go and get an iPad. But there's not always enough for everybody. So if, as much as can be done at home, that's really helpful. So that's how accelerated reader works. They log on and take a STAR reading assessment, and that is independent. So children complete that assessment completely on their own, and then from that they're given a reading aid and also a zone of proximal development, which is the numbers that are on the book. So it'll be like 3.6 to 4.8 or something like that. So the children can select a reading book anywhere within that range. Children are always really keen to go higher than that level, and sometimes I guess we would let them go a little bit higher, but nothing too crazy. They need to be reading within that level of comprehension that they can do independently. Then they, as I say, they go on, complete their quiz. That then leads on to our reading millionaires, and then about once every half term we'll then complete that reading test again, which kind of pumps out the new numbers, the new zone of proximal development. This is all the reading we do in school. So there's an accelerated reader time every day. That's usually first thing in the morning or after lunchtime as well. So as we begin the afternoon, we do a whole class reading lesson once a week. So that's one of the English lessons every week, is a whole class reading session where we'll be looking at a piece of text and then looking at reading comprehension questions. So how do we find the key information and how do we answer that question? All our English lessons, we use Power of Reading, so they're all linked to a high quality text, which we'll look at the moment, what our books are that we're looking at this year. And that's how the Vipers mnemonic there is how we, I suppose, teach our reading comprehension. So we're looking at vocabulary. Is this question asking us to predict something, or are we trying to infer something? So that's something that we read. That's something that we use within our reading comprehension. So this is our English curriculum this year. So this is both year 3 and 4. We read the same books and we're doing the same, roughly the same English lessons. At the moment, we're doing The Pebble in My Pocket. And then we've got Stone Age Boys as well, Stone Age Boy as well, which links to, is that science, Mrs Shepherd? Stone
A
Age.
little bit, yeah, with rocks and with rocks and fossils.
Okay, so some of them link across the different topics as well. Then after Christmas, we're doing Escape from Pompeii and the Iron Man. And then in the summer term, we're reading The Boy at the Back of the Class and Werewolf Club Rules. So those are the books that we're reading this year, but that's what our English curriculum in school is based upon. All our English work will be based around these books. So for example, at the moment, we're looking at producing a non-chronological report around The Pebble in My Pocket, which is the history of Earth. And then all these things that you can see on the screen, like the spelling focus, the grammar focus, the punctuation focus, we're going to be building that in alongside our English lessons and into all those writing pieces that we're doing. So at the moment, the spelling focus in year 3 is we're saying the OU grapheme as ow. I think year 4 you're doing homophones, is that right?
Yeah, and then we'll be moving on to
spelling focus changes quite quickly, so that's every week or 2 we're looking at a new spelling rule. Grammar focus, we're looking at verbials, past and present tense, and sentence types. We're doing all that before half term. And in punctuation, we're looking at using commas for a fronted adverbial. And we've just put a bit down there at the bottom. How can parents help at home? So Spelling Shed as much as possible, particularly because the quiz that is set on Spelling Shed links to the spelling rules that we're looking at in school. So if they're practicing that at home, that just massively helps. All the different spelling pieces we need to get through, and reading as well, as Mrs Shepherd said, 10 minutes a day. So this is our maths curriculum. We use White Rose Maths as a basis of our maths curriculum in school. And you can see there's quite a lot there to get through, but in this term we're looking at place value, so that's now. Then we'll be moving on to addition and subtraction, multiplication and division. And if I'll click through a little bit to year 3, you'll see it's fairly similar. So in the autumn term, we're doing place value, then we'll move on to addition and subtraction, and then multiplication and division. And so, for example, in year 3 at the moment, in place value, we're going up to numbers up to 1,000. So we're looking at the place value of hundreds, tens and ones, and Mrs Shepherd, you'll be doing up to 10,000. Did you want to talk a little bit about maths as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention more for the year 4 parents, just about maths. If you've got older children that have recently been in year 4, you will know that they do a multiplication test in June. This is an online sort of screening test where it's to see what times table the boys and girls know. So that by year 4, they are expected to know up to 12 times 12 and be able to rapid recall, so 4 times 4 straight away. So I can't emphasize enough, we will do a lot of times table work in class, but that little bit, again, a bit like reading, I think with times tables, if you can just do a little bit every night, it really helps embed the times tables and just becomes they can rapidly recall them. I've had children before, because I said that to the boys and girls in class last week, and they were all like, oh, there's no way I'm going to know all my times tables. And I tried to reassure them that there's been boys and girls in the past that I've had that have been at this point in the autumn term, maybe just know the 2 times tables, the 5 times tables, the 10, the 3. I've got quite a long way to go, but they've used times table rock stars. They've been on it every night just for 5-10 minutes, and by the time, even by Christmas, they were able to rapidly recall all their times tables. So I just want parents to be aware of that we will do. And it's not just preparing for the test. I find that if the boys and girls know their times tables, it just helps. If you look across how many of those areas, it will help in obviously the multiplication and division, length and perimeter, fractions, decimals. It comes into so many of the other areas. So yeah, if you could do a big push on times tables at home, that would be much appreciated.
Fabulous. Right, over to you, science.
Yeah, so we do science once a week, and this term we are focusing on rocks and soils, a topic I always find the boys and girls love. And then we will be moving on to animals, including humans, and looking at skeletons. Spring term, we look at forces and magnets. We just do the one topic in spring term, with it being a lot shorter term. And then in the summer term, we'll look at states of matter, like solid, liquids, and gases. And then we'll look at living things and their habitats. So I've just put, we ask enough of parents to do this, this, and this at home. So I'm not going to bombard you, but just little things that you can do at home that link in with science, encouraging children to be curious. I'm sure they already ask you lots of questions. Giving children opportunities to explore. There is actually a website called Explorify, which has loads of really practical things if science is their thing. So yeah, Explorify is really good for that, to explore, and just supporting further exploration really with science. And yeah, we do lots of investigations, which the boys and girls always love. So the next one, history. So in history, this autumn term, we are looking at the Stone Age to Iron Age in Britain, which is such a massive time period to cover. So we're looking at how life changed during the Stone Age, right through to the Iron Age, and key inventions along the way. In the spring term, we will be looking at Rome and Britain and how they invaded Britain and what made them so successful. And that will link in with one of the trips that we do, which I will mention just later on. And then in the summer, we're looking at Vikings and where they originated from, and then the Anglo-Saxons and why they came to Britain. I think children often struggle to see, when we go back in time and look at periods of history, wherever periods of history fit in. We have a massive timeline by our photocopier. So we went down the other day and actually looked at how far back we were going when we're looking at the Stone Age. So yeah, just at home talking about experiences, for example, your childhood and what your school life was like, just making those comparisons with your children for history. Then RE, another subject I teach in the afternoon. So this term, we've started off by looking at celebrations across different religions. We've already looked at Diwali festival. We've already looked at Holi festival. We're going to be looking at Passover and a few others. That was when we used the VR headsets last week, which the children loved, being able to experience a Holi festival and what that would be like. Then the second half of the autumn term, we're moving on to look at food from different religions. Spring term, we're looking at leadership and some of the key leaders across lots of different religions. And then summer term, we're doing places of worship, and that will also link in with a trip that we've got lined up. And just, yeah, I think RE is one of them where if we can just ask children what they've been learning to reinforce. You always get to RE and say, what did we do last week? And they always just seem to struggle. So we're just trying to reinforce what we've been doing the week before. And then geography, another one. So this term we are looking at Great Britain. So we've started off the term just recapping basic stuff. So the continents and the countries that make up Great Britain, the capital cities. And then we've moved on now to start to look at land use and settlements and key topographic features. We'll be moving on to looking at hills and mountains. That will then lead us on to our springtime topic of mountains and volcanoes, where we'll be locating some of the main mountain ranges, how they are formed, as well as looking at volcanoes, which children always seem to love, and when they erupt and things like that. And then finally, in the summer term, we'll be looking at settlements within Scandinavia and looking at some of the countries within that and comparing it to our country. So I've just put how can parents help at home for this, chatting about places children visit, names of places, even just basic things. It's always surprising how many children don't know their own address or where they live. So just making sure that then they live in a village, it's in the northwest, just basic things like that. For geography, so PE is Both sessions are taught by Mr. Kendall. So in the autumn term, this term, he's doing invasion games, outdoor adventurous activities, which will include orienteering and then some dance. Spring term, he's doing gymnastics, net and wall games, and we will also do our swimming lessons in the spring term. Once we've got things finalised where we're going to do them at, we will obviously let you know. Obviously encouraging children to be active outside of school. There's going to be lots more opportunities coming up for children to represent the school at various competitions. So, if your child's maybe wanting to try a new sport, encouraging them to give it a go. And then just another one is getting children to be responsible for looking after their own PE kit, especially being in the juniors. Quite often they'll say, I've lost my kit, and they've got no idea. So just trying to get children used to being responsible for looking after it and making sure they have it when they need to have it for PE. So design technology is a little bit different. We don't do it every week. We found that it's just hard to do it once a week. So what we do now is every half term, we have DT week, where that week we focus our foundation subjects. They take a bit of a back seat and we do our design technology week. So this first half term, we'll be looking at electrical systems and circuits, and we'll be making torches. And then after half term, it'll be food nutrition, and we'll be making biscuits and adapting a recipe and how we can tweak that and change it. Spring term, we'll be looking at structures and making pavilions, followed by mechanisms, making some slingshot cars. And then summer terms, it's textile sewing. Always a personal favourite, rethreading the needle 7,000 times for all the children. So we'll be making storybook covers. So lots of different things that the boys and girls make throughout the year. Computing, so teach that again on a Tuesday afternoon. So this half term, we're doing programming on Scratch. I know that you can get free access to that, and a lot of the boys and girls were telling me they already do that at home. So that's really good that they're practicing those coding skills at home. Then after half term, we'll move on to computational thinking. Spring term, we do digital literacy, and we use the iPads to make iMovie book trailers, which is always a really good one. Summer term, we do online safety and investigating weather using green screens. And just a big one, just making sure that we're ensuring children are safe online and we know what sites, apps they're accessing. And like I just previously mentioned, children may wish to use some of the programs we use at school. For example, Scratch. This is really good at making the children become more familiar with these. Music. So music is taught on a Tuesday afternoon by Mrs Naggs that comes in to teach music. This autumn term, she's doing developing notation and combining musical elements to make music. Spring term, composing and creating simple melodies. And summer term, she's looking at musical styles and purpose, expression and identity in music. And just put that if your child does maybe have a one-to-one or a little group music lesson, they always ask that if they can practice at home as much as they can to help build on what they have learned that week. Art is on a Monday afternoon with Mrs Walling. She will be looking at Vincent van Gogh this autumn term. Spring term links in with our history topic, Roman pottery, making pots, and summer term is doing printing for art. PSHE is taught on a Wednesday afternoon by Mrs Burton. So autumn term, this term they're looking at families and friendships, safe relationships and changing bodies. So the age appropriate sex education for year 3 and 4. Spring term is growing and changing and looking at physical and mental well-being. And summer term is citizenship, money and work. And just saying about talking with your child a lot at home about relationships and any issues they feel like they have, which I'm sure you already do, just making them feel comfortable with themselves and the world around them, which I think the boys and girls at our school are really good at coming to us if they have any questions or want to talk about anything. French, this is obviously for year 3, something new. We just started it. The year 4s will have obviously done this last year. So do this on a Friday afternoon, lots of practical, lots of conversations with each other. We use Kapow for French, just to give me a little helping hand teaching it. Autumn term, we're looking at This Is Me, so lots of how to greet each other, how to ask each other what our names are, basic things like that. Then we're going to be moving on to birthday celebrations. Spring term, the theme is colourful creatures, and summer term is fabulous French food. So lots and lots of things that we cover right across the curriculum there. Do you want me to do educational visits, Miss Stephenson? Then I'll move back to you because I feel like I've been talking for a while.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so educational visits, we have said that we need to be better at planning out our educational visits and giving parents more notice and being more prepared with them. So we have put together a plan of where we plan to go for the whole year. So this autumn term, we have booked White Scar Caves now, haven't we?
We have date for the diary, because we're going on a separate year 3 and year 4. We're going to use the minibus. Fingers crossed the minibus has arrived by the time we go. So we're going on different days, and that's going to help reduce the cost as well. So it's either the 12th of October or the 19th of October. A letter will be coming out shortly. Yeah, that's been booked now.
Yeah, that will be coming out ASAP. And then we do, in the second half term, I think it's November, we go to St Catherine's Wood in Windermere, and it's really good. They do a Stone Age day where we get to take part in lots of activities, making cave paintings, making Stone Age axes. They always love that one. Then in the spring term, we've got a Lake District walk, which fits in with our geography, and with Hadrian's Wall. And then in summer term, we're going to do an RE trip, which links in with our different places of worship, visiting different churches, visiting a mosque. And then in the second half of the summer term, we are going to do a York residential, and that will be one night away, which is always something to look forward to. And like Miss Stevenson just mentioned, we are meant to be getting a minibus anytime now, which will obviously help to reduce costs for parents. And St Mary's in Kirby Lonsdale, they also have a minibus, and we're going to work together to share the minibus so that we can take the classes out and, like I say, just help to reduce costs with transport costs going up so much over the past couple of years. So yeah, lots of good trips planned in there.
If I just talk a little bit about assessments that go on in school, we have an assessment week that happens at the end of every term, but there's always ongoing assessments as well. So like I talked about with Accelerated Reader, there's some star reading assessments. Every time a child does a book, they do a reading comprehension quiz, but then also they'll do an independent reading quiz, which gives them their zone of proximal development as well. At the end of every maths unit of work, so when we finish place value, there's a maths assessment as well. And then at the end of every English unit of writing, there's we assess that writing piece. That's not so much done in one lesson. That's over, like for example, when I said we're writing the non-chronological report for Pebble in My Pocket, we're going to be doing that over a week. And then at the end of that, I'm looking to see, can children independently produce the pieces of grammar and spelling that we've been looking at. End of unit assessment pieces. Yeah, so that's in foundation subjects as well. So at the end of every unit, end of every topic that they've been learning in RE or geography or science, there's also an assessment piece, and that's not a sit down complete a quiz. It's maybe something that encompasses everything we've been doing, so be like a producer poster kind of piece of work, or let's put together a PowerPoint slide, again looking to see can the children articulate the key knowledge that we've been looking at over the unit. Teacher assessment is ongoing, and then I mentioned about the termly assessment week that is done at the end of every term, which just helps to collate all the data together and then plan the next steps. Yeah, there's a report to parents, as you guys know. There's an interim report that comes out end of each term, which shows the child's individual target and the progress that they're making towards it. And then there's a full parent report that comes out at the end of the year as well. So those are all the assessment pieces that happen. We just put a little bit in about staying in touch. So we're always there at the start and the end of the day. Not so much me at the end of the day at the moment, but definitely there at the start of the day, and Mr. Shepherd's there as well. If it's something quick, then by all means we're around, and just catch us then. If it's more formal, then please book a face-to-face appointment through the office. And just a bit to say that we don't respond to messages on Class Dojo. That's because it's not an app that we use to keep track of with communication. So we didn't want anything being sent that's really important. It might not be read for a few days. So if there's an important message that you need to get to us, then please just relay that through the office, and that will come to us straight away. And we are at the end. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, if they want to put them in the chat box, if they are general questions, but if anyone has any more questions that they'd just like to ask us, you can catch us, like Miss Stephenson said, at the end of the day. I feel like we have bombarded you with a lot of information there, but hopefully it just gives you an insight into what goes on and the curriculum and what the boys and girls get up to. So yeah, just give a second to see if anyone does ask any questions. If not, so we've just got one. Is the spelling practice you do in class, online, or written practice? It's a mixture of both, isn't it, Mrs Stephenson?
What was the question again? Is the spelling
you do in class, online, or written practice? So yeah, we use Spelling Shed, and that's a variety of activities that we do in our spelling books, whole class activities that we do together on the floor. And and then obviously we do
every morning our spelling session tends to be written work. Once a week we'll have a spelling shed game in class, but in the morning we tend to start off with written spelling work.
And then we've just got a question. Is it possible, I think it's one of your parents, is it possible to have a copy of the slides for the spelling shed? I guess that's something we could look into, isn't it, if they want to help?
Is that was it a copy of the slides of tonight or a copy of the slides of Spelling Shed?
From tonight, just so I can show my husband, if that's all right, because I won't remember it all.
Sure. I think it's been recorded actually, Emma.
But let me ask Mr. Dewar in the morning, and I'm sure we can definitely get something to you, and we could send the PowerPoint over or whatever works for you. Leave it with us.
Thank you.
And if that's it, then thank you again for joining us. I know it's your evening, but just wanted to give you a little insight into anything. And if there is, like Miss Stevens said, anything that anyone ever wants to catch us, ask us. We're more than happy to help. But thank you very much. And we'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, everyone. Lovely. See you all in the morning.
See you soon. Bye.